Hi, this is Moo. I want to go over the first steps that I took when getting into electronic cigarettes and some of the ones that you probably have already taken or will take if you're just thinking about it at this point. And this includes things like where do you get your first electronic cigarette, what you should get, some of the early pitfalls that might turn your first try into your last experience, and the problems that you will inevitably run into that will turn you into an aspie obsessive about vaping and cause all of your friends to hate you because you go on and on about coils and wicks. Because this is going to happen, and since the alternative is just getting disgusted and tossing the whole idea out the window and going back to combustibles, just learn to accept it and move on. If you watch my previous video, which is ironically a sort of anthem about how much I loved smoking, you'll know that I picked up electronics as an impulse purchase. First with a disposable that I really hated, and then with a starter kit of refillable ecig that I finally liked. For most smokers, this is how it happens. You buy your cigarettes at your usual smoke shop, you suspiciously eye the display of electronics that most smoke shops have set up to cash in on the vaping boom, and then maybe you pick something up along with your pack of whatever it is that you smoke to give it a shot. Now, as I said, I personally did not like disposables at all. And maybe I got the wrong kind, maybe there's a better one out there, maybe they all just suck, whatever. If you got a disposable and you like it enough to use it instead of your regular smokes, well, good for you. You don't really need to go any further as long as you like them. But in case you're on the fence or you just haven't taken that step yet, here are some of the basic differences for you to think of as a consumer between disposables and refillables. And the first is price. Disposables cost less upfront typically, but they cost you more over time. When you buy a refillable electronic cigarette, you have a larger upfront investment, and then later on, what you buy is coils and liquids, which are relatively cheap unless you're just getting completely ripped off. If you buy disposables, they cost less up front, and then when you're done, you just toss them and get new ones at the same price over and over. So the price actually goes up over time. Now, note that if you really get into vaping with refillables, it's quite easy to spend mountains of cash on things like new batteries, tanks, coil, wire, wicks, liquids, mods, and all kinds of dumb shit. But that's totally optional and you don't have to do it. The second thing to consider between disposables and refillables is liquid choice. When you get a disposable, you're stuck with whatever liquid is in there. If you like it, great. But unless you find another disposable with a flavor you like better, you're kind of stuck with it. You also can't change your nicotine level at will like you can with a refillable. You also lose some other options, like going, say, with an all-vegetable glycerin mix if it turns out you react badly to propylene glycol, which is one of the main components of most e-juice, and some people are allergic to. And the third thing to consider is ease of use, and disposables definitely win here. Disposables are no hassle. You use it, you toss it, and you replace it. And even the cheapest, most basic refillable electronic cigarette requires you to at least pour liquids, recharge batteries, and at the very least, replace your tank. Say if you're using super cheap CE4 style tanks and you just throw them away instead of cleaning them when they get gunky. Now, all that said, I would recommend personally going with a basic refillable, and this means an ecig or something similar with a refillable tank and a rechargeable battery. If possible, you get a starter kit with 2 of everything. I got one of these, but it was mostly because both me and my wife were going to try them out. But even if you're one person, I would still recommend getting 2 of everything. If you have some sort of unfortunate accident with a tank or a battery goes bad, you'll have another one ready to go. I mean, come on, it's not Samsung or Audi making these things. Quality control is not what it should be. Where should you get your first electronic cigarette? Well, it's probably an impulse purchase, so you get it wherever you are when you think you want to get it. I was kind of lucky. My smoke shop has a fairly extensive e-cig section, including disposables, a bunch of really nice tanks, coils, mods, starter kits, and a big line of middle-of-the-road liquids that they probably get from some large operation out of state and then they rebrand. Most smoke shops have you know, some disposables, maybe a few ego type things in blister packs. As long as they aren't totally raping you on the price, like they want to charge 50 or 80 bucks for a little pen style vape, then what the hell, go ahead. I've looked through the windows on some hole in the wall head shops where they have little $10 kits that they charge over $100 for. Stay away from those places. Now hopefully they also have some liquids and a tasting bar set up with a bunch of clear misers so you can try different liquids out. Please note that any shop that has a tasting bar should also have disposable plastic or silicone mouthpieces, because some of the guys I see sampling liquids in there can be pretty funky. And before you buy, ask a few questions to see if they know at least the basics of what they're talking about, and ask them to show you how to perform basic tasks like filling the tank, cleaning the tank, turning the battery on and off, and changing the coil if that's appropriate. Most of the time it's not, because people consider the CE4 clear misers to be disposable. Don't worry about it, no big deal. As long as they know pretty much how the thing works and you're not walking out of there having no idea what to do. What should it cost? Well, a quick look around the interwebs reveals that basic refillables like the Ego T with a CE4, honestly they cost about 10 bucks or so if you buy the parts from a Chinese wholesaler and then wait for over a month for the batteries to clear customs. They cost a little bit more from a domestic supplier, but you'll get them faster. Once in a while you'll find stores doing specials, like a starter kit special, maybe even a giveaway. However, you're a smoker making an impulse buy, so you'll pay more to pick one up from your local smoke shop. Whatever. Unless you're getting completely hosed, as I said before, just don't worry about it too much. You want to pick the thing up and try it out when it's in your hands before the impulse fades and you go back to blowing money on cigarettes for another few months. If you pay like $20, even $25 or less for a complete kit, or $40 or less for a double kit, I would consider that to be perfectly fine. Just go ahead and do it. You can go bargain hunting later after you've realized the cost savings of vaping over cigarettes, and believe me, it does not take long for that to happen. What sort of things can turn you off right away when you buy your first e-cigarette? Well, aside from defective products, mostly it's just bad flavor. Now this can happen if you get a disposable with a liquid you don't like, as happened to me, or if you have to buy the liquid without being able to try it first. The shop doesn't have a tasting bar set up. You know, they're just a smoke shop who's put up a few e-cigs to try and cash in, and they got a couple bottles of liquids, but they haven't set up a tasting bar and they don't feel like opening a bottle. Now, this will not happen at any even half reasonable vape shop, and there are tons of them springing up all over the place to cash in on the vaping boom. If you happen to buy your e-cig online, or for some reason you bought it from a place that doesn't even sell liquids, just go find a vape shop and try some out at their tasting bar. Pick one up you like. You'll probably pay more for the liquid than you would online if it's a commercially available liquid, but at least you're going to know what you're getting, which is a huge advantage. You do not want to spend a lot of money for stuff that you do not even have the faintest idea what it tastes like. Get small bottles. You're probably going to want to try out some different flavors pretty soon, and you don't want to spend all your discretionary funds on one flavor that you get sick of very quickly, and then have a big bottle of stuff lying around that you hate after the first tank. What will happen without fail that will frustrate you probably within the first week? So let's say that nothing else goes wrong. You have a great first experience vaping. You don't want another cigarette ever. You don't even think about it. At some point, your tank will start to taste burnt and awful. Now, this is from gunk building up on the heating coils. It's not junk floating around in the liquid most of the time. It's not something melting most of the time. It's just the esters and the flavors burning on the coils and eventually get caked up on there. Now, you can deal with this either by just replacing the tank completely. Sometimes you can fix it by washing and drying the tank, or from washing, drying, and dry burning the coils. Now, I'm not going to get too much into dry burning here, as it's a bit out of scope, and there are already a lot of videos that show you how to dry burn, which is how I learned to do it, but it's a good thing to know. You should go check it out. Whichever way you decide to go, this is why you have to get at least one extra tank. At least one. Take the gunky one off, set it aside, pop a new one on, fill it up, let it sit for a while so the wicks get saturated, and you're good to go again. I would not really recommend throwing away the old gunky tank, even if it's super cheap and you figured that's what you were going to do in the first place, since you can always use it to try to learn how to dry burn, as long as it has silica wicks or something that's not cotton so it won't catch on fire. The worst thing that can happen is that you screw it up, you pop the coil, you burn the wick, something bad happens, and you have to throw it away, which is what you were going to do in the first place anyway. That's about it for this. If you have any questions, just let me know in the comments. I'll try to address them. Thanks a lot. I will see you next time.